It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles.
Welcome in. It's Sports by the Book here at the South Point Studio. Boy, a lot of stuff going on in this studio today. Frank Nicotero decided to leave all of his stuff here for 2 hours. All of it. I mean, we did have a staff meeting, but it's not as fun when we say that in the middle of that.
Right.
But we are gonna figure out where in the Frank is Nicotero. Did I get it right?
I
got it right. Very good. Later in the show. See, I got it. By the way, I'm Jeff Parles. Alex White is here. Vinny Magliulo is here. Alex, you enjoy your New Year's Day?
Yeah. Happy New Year to everyone. I'll just say I'm setting the bar pretty low for the rest of my year because this week's been very odd for me, but it's okay. We're going to start.
Oh, that's a tease.
Hold on. How so?
Well, first of all, the playoff games,
Yeah.
Luckily the overs got there. I had those, but
Okay.
neither side. I was on the right side. I smashed my finger in a dumbbell
anger?
working out. No,
That sounds
so
like fun.
yeah, so that's how my week has been going. But like I said, the bar is set low. It can only get better
There
from
was a
here
few
on
things
out.
smashed after those games. Yeah, I understand. It happens.
Well, all I will say is, so those two games where, from the betting perspective, real quick, we'll get to Washington and Texas in a second because a theme of bowl season continued again on that game. Michigan wins in overtime.
Mhm.
The game goes over basically every total that was out there, thanks to overtime.
Right.
Which I know the bettors love that, especially all of them that had
Where
the over.
unders go to die.
Yeah, we know that. Well, that and the dog dog went to die as well in overtime with Alabama and Michigan. Also, of course, the dulcet tones on the end, our guy, Hall of Famer Vinny Magliulo, as always. I'll just ask you this, Vinny.
Mhm.
With the first game, before we get over to that second game, and then, of
Mhm.
course, the game on Monday night, where Michigan and Washington will play for a title in Houston, as the final time is not conference mates, as we know. This is all Big Ten final now. But from that game, Vinny,
The Alabama game. You're talking about the Alabama?
the Michigan-Alabama game. Do you move Michigan's number at all with winning in overtime in a game where, let's face it, they were significantly better for 3 quarters? Then it looked like they were going to lose outright, and then they found a way in the overtime.
Well, I think the reason that game got to overtime, too, was special teams. Right.
Their special
Michigan's-
teams are dreadful.
Their special teams were awful. Alabama took full advantage of it. But again, you've got to give Michigan credit for finding a way. They tie the game, and then they go into overtime and win it. And look, their defense played havoc with Alabama, especially with Milroe. So, and was interesting too. One thing that I did not see an adjustment on, and this Chris Andrews and I, when we were watching the game, we kept talking about it. It wasn't special teams; it was defense. You know what helped Michigan's defense? Almost every snap by Alabama was a low snap, or was an awful snap. It was. I couldn't believe that it wasn't talked about that much because it threw the timing of their plays off so much, especially on the last play, which was off a timeout. And that was, but that was, it didn't just happen on the last
it
play.
didn't.
I mean, when you think about it, if you watch that game, you have to say to yourself, wait a second, there was no adjustment for that particular aspect. Now they made some adjustments at halftime and they got him moving outside when he did get a good snap and everything. But to answer your question about adjusting Michigan, I had more of an adjustment on Washington.
We'll get to them, yeah.
When we'll get to that, but not as much. I think like they have all season, Michigan figures some things out. And now I get it. They've only got a week to do it, but that's their nature too. That's their rhythm during the course of the year.
And Alex, just from your perspective here, and Michigan was always a top 5 power-rated team one way or another all year.
Yeah.
Washington, not so much, but we'll get to them in a second. But watching that game, your point really was the biggest thing, where there were just small intricacies that a lot of people just miss altogether. Special teams, where it was ironic because Michigan special teams was incredible. They were a top 5 special teams unit all year, and they, quite frankly, should have lost them the game. I mean, the fumbled punt at the end of regulation was very, very Michigan was very lucky to get on top of that and then not get
Yeah.
safe.
It was a couple of those.
Yeah,
actually,
no,
where
the muff punt led to Alabama's opening touchdown. I mean, they missed the field goal. They did all. Michigan did all sorts of stuff they haven't done all year, and they still found a way. Which is why I think, Alex, I'm curious if you agree with what Vinny said. I wouldn't have moved them at all.
I didn't.
Personally.
No. Yeah, I didn't touch that number because if I was moving ahead, I thought Bama would have come down a little bit for me, but of course they're done for the season, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, I left Michigan the same.
Yeah, Bama kind of was the team they were all year. They're super talented, more flaws than usual with the Saban team, but they deserve to be there. And quite frankly, they were one defensive stop away from playing Washington on Monday night.
You know, the fourth down when Michigan went for it on what was it, 4th and 2?
4th and 2 with 3 minutes to go.
And 3 timeouts. I wasn't totally shocked about that. And again, that was credit them for look, the way Harbaugh and staff.
I shouldn't do too much complaining though. We had 2 great games. Did we not?
The games were outstanding.
They really were.
We've had some blowouts in the past, right in the playoff. These were 2 very exciting games.
Yes.
Well, finally, it took until the end of this 4-team era. The last 4 semifinals all decided by one score. The last 3, I know Georgia technically had a kneel down at the end of that Ohio State game, but the last 3 coming down to the last formative plays of the game as Michigan again survives 27-20 into the final, where they will take on a team that's been doubted all year long, and yet here they are at 14-0, the Washington Huskies.
Yeah.
That was almost one of the most ridiculous collapses I've ever seen in a big spot with Washington, where they get the bad break, where Dylan Johnson gets hurt, thus stopping the clock and giving Texas a whole extra 40 seconds. And then Sarkisian in the red zone, which we talked about it all on Monday, where I thought there's a distinct coaching advantage for Washington.
Yeah.
I know there were some funky things that happened during the game, but I think the coaching advantage played out, and part of the reason Washington is there is that coaching advantage. But, Vinny, you brought it up. You raised Washington after that performance, 37-31, where Michael Penix was just absolutely flawless in that game.
Well, when and I'll tell you what, my adjustment was about 4 points.
It's a lot.
Which is a lot of points, and I'll tell you, it is, but I'll tell you why. It also was, here's what I built into it, okay? First of all, the team's resilience, and it's a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, but a lot of confidence, too. I think the biggest aspect for me was that Texas had a significant size advantage, defensive line against offensive line. And Penix was not a mobile quarterback. In this day and age, he is as classic a pocket passer, right, as you're going to find. In fact, I think he had negative rushing yards this year. His rushing yards were negligible, maybe even, and again, I don't have the stats right in front of me, but if I'm not mistaken, they were negligible. So you figured that this was going to be a game that he had all kinds of difficulty with. And we talked about how good Oregon's. Go ahead.
The 32 carries for 13 yards, including the plus 31 he had on Monday night.
So he had negative yards going into the game.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So now we talked about how good Oregon's defense was, but he overcame it. What he did the other night to me was ridiculous.
Oh, it's insane.
I mean, the quick release, and again, you have to credit the coaching staff. So coaching staff and team and execution by Penix. You put all of that together, and you have to take into account just the build-up to it. And so to me, yeah, is that a big adjustment late? Yes, but I think it's warranted. And obviously, we've got a game that opened 4, went to 4.5, went to 5, and it was grabbed right away. Now, there's not a lot of difference between 4.5 and 5, but to me, and what Chris Andrews and I look at is that how quickly that did get grabbed like that. So there's value with the points and with this team, and McCarthy. I have to tell you, big advantage at quarterback for Washington here, Alex.
I think I have to take the points here. I haven't done anything yet. I did make it 4.5 too.
Okay,
but
so right there, yeah.
Right there.
Hoping I see a 5 again. Probably grab the points as Washington, though. How can you not? I mean, they have found a way every time you're getting points with this team in the national championship game.
This is a really difficult game because the power ratings say one thing about Washington still. And even with the adjustment that Vinny made, and I would imagine you made a maybe not as aggressive move, but still a move positively on Washington. At some point, and this is the best defense. I know people will say Oregon's defense going into that game was playing the Pac-12 title game, I should say, maybe equal to what Michigan is. I don't agree with that. Michigan, to me, has been the best defense in the country the whole year.
No question.
And this is a different test for Washington. Now, the one thing part of the reason that I haven't made a bet yet, and by Monday I'll have something. It's just a matter of what. That Washington defense continues to be underestimated.
Mm-hmm.
And for the grand part of that game against Texas, they played pretty well. I understand they gave up 31 points, but that is a great offense they faced.
Oh, sure.
And Quinn Ewers looked pretty bad for a good chunk of that game.
Mm-hmm.
And that credit's got to go to the Washington defense. And they did it to Oregon, where, yes, Oregon had that 21-point scoring run in the Pac-12 title game. The rest of that game, they look pretty average. So I just wonder, for both of your perspectives, if we just undervalued Washington's defense all year, where, all right, they're not an elite defense, but you know what? They're pretty close to being at the back end of the top 10, top 15. And with that offense, that's good enough to get you to Houston.
Well, bend but don't break enough to where you also know, I think, as a defensive player, that your offense is going to help you out by being able to score points. And I think one of the things that Washington has shown is, okay, you want to shoot out, we can play in a shootout. Right. If we need to slug it out at certain points in a game, we can do that. But Penix just has this ability, and his receivers are incredible. I mean, they're great, and they're so in sync because he gets rid of the ball so quickly, and they're ready. So you put all those things together. Is 4 points a big adjustment? Yeah. So I'm certainly not. I mean, my number came to 6 on a neutral field. Could not quite hang 6 because I think we also anticipated that there would be an attraction for Washington coming off of that game. And let's remember this, it was the second game, so it was very fresh in people's minds. Yeah. Okay, and oftentimes we see that and take that into account. You're going to see it with the AFC and NFC title games, and it's the same principle here. And again, as I mentioned all along, we booked these games, and they were bet, Alex, like they were NFL playoff games. And the response was terrific, and Monday's not going to be an exception.
No. I mean, I was expecting a Texas-Bama rematch, but I'm looking forward to this one just as much.
I had Texas-Bama as well. I'm happy we have this matchup.
Agreed.
Because there's a few unknowns here, even with all these data points we have on both of these teams, that I'm intrigued to see how this looks on Monday night. I do want to give one stat for Monday real quick, and you mentioned the receivers. Adunze, Polk, McMillan, and Bernard were targeted 20 times on Monday night. 19 catches for 353 and 2 touchdowns.
There you go. 19 catches.
19 of 20 targets. That's pretty good.
Good hands.
It's pretty good. Washington's receiving core is better than the Kansas City Chiefs receiving.
Oh.
Hey.
Ouch.
I don't think that's much of a debate.
No.
In all honesty. All right, before we get to our guy, Kai McKeon, who three-man weave, talking college hoops, we'll get to him in a few moments here. All right, before we let you go, Vinny, let you go back to work.
Yep.
Because, of course, we have Football Friday tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
Yes.
Week 18 NFL is a convoluted mess. But this is what it is when you have, realistically speaking, Houston and Indianapolis, obviously winners in, losers out.
Correct.
The final game of the regular season, Buffalo probably needs, based off the betting numbers, will need to win in order to make the postseason at all, and it would be as an AFC's champion, or else they're out, and Miami gets in. And then Green Bay and Chicago. Other than that, this is, I know there's some other games mixed in there, but Tennessee, Jacksonville, you can probably see Ryan Tannehill in that game for Tennessee. Tennessee has been a lead balloon the last 6 weeks. It's a very convoluted week, but you told me this before the show. Bettors are all over this thing already.
Well, they love it. I mean, if you look at these games and the way they move, because so posting them, we actually waited for some of the games, right? Because and then anticipating, for instance, the Ravens, right? Who are the Ravens going to play? I mean, we know that Lamar Jackson is not going to play, right? Look at the Rams. I mean, the Rams, both quarterbacks.
You ready for Darnold and Wentz?
Yeah, good
As
times.
all expected.
Good times. But there's something for everybody because now your handicap is just, who is going to not only we pretty much know who's going to play, but how intense are these games going to be? What's timing going to be like? So I think you're going to see a lot of movement, and you've seen already some movement with totals and things like that, right? Guys are fighting for their jobs, whether they're coaches or players. So it's forget about tanking. All this talk you hear about tanking and draft position and everything like that. These players, they want to win because they want to secure their, or at least give them some type of security for next year and things like that. So, but again, a lot quicker line movement with these games. We can book the Dolphins-Bills game like we normally would, but when you watch some of these games, I mean, look, the Chargers are 3.5. So you still have the same situation, right? I mean, and the game did get below 3.
That's Easton
it's
Stick
2.5.
and Blaine Gabbert in that one.
Yeah.
But there you have it to where you're still, from our side of the counter, going to have to deal with, hopefully results that don't fall on and especially in some of these games on 3s where they're taking 3.5s and laying 3s or taking 3s and laying 2.5. So that doesn't go away, Alex.
Speaking of that key number, Vinny, I'm waiting for the injury report for the Dolphins.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at taking the 3 with them. I think Jeff and I might be on different sides for that one this weekend. Do you think I should grab the 3 while I can, or you think it's been just back and forth right there? It'll be okay.
Right, it depends, right? I mean, you have a situation where
it is
if you think,
now, so
it's 3.5. So if you get 3.5. Because it has,
you're 2.5 right now.
2.5. I'm sorry.
2.5,
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong game. If you get the chance to grab the 3, it'll go back to 3.
Okay.
I think you almost have to because you're anticipating too that Tua is going to play. So Tyreek Hill is probable. They do have some other injuries, but
You're on.
Yeah.
You like Miami?
plus the point.
Plus the
3.
point.
I don't like
Plus
anything in that
point.
game personally.
You
Okay.
like an in-game.
I don't even know if that's an in-game one unless if it's clear that Buffalo is going to smoke them. That's really the only way that I
Well,
would.
you'll find out.
Well,
In-game.
all I will say is if the Steelers win on Saturday,
Yeah.
and that's for winner-take-all scenario, and if everyone's going to be laser focused on, hey, Buffalo needs to win in order to make the playoffs.
Correct.
You're right.
The flip side of that is if Miami loses and falls to the 6,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to winning and getting the 2 seed and winning the AFC East. Oh, and by the way, eliminating the second best team in the AFC by power ratings from the playoffs altogether before they even start. You're talking about like as big of a path change as humanly possible. You go from, if you're to 6, I know the Chiefs have looked terrible for the better portion of 2 months now, but Kansas City can be favored at home against Miami in a 3-6.
And again, depending on how who's back from Miami, Waddle
Chubb's not playing.
But here's another way to look at it too, Alex. You have to watch what happens with the Steeler game on Saturday because you may get more than 3.
You're right.
Well, I mean, if Pittsburgh loses, you're going to get more than 3.
Yeah, you see, so you're going to get 3 because it's gone back and forth already between 2.5 and 3. So you can get 3. So if you wait, you may get more. You're in a really good position.
Love
so
it.
You'll get at least 3.
Yeah. See, that's good information for everyone who's watching too.
I
don't mind saying it because we're going to do the business.
But I mean, Vinny's 100% right because if Pittsburgh somehow does, if the Baltimore backups beat the Steelers,
right,
which they could, they did it a few years ago when they already had the 1 seed wrapped up. Then that number, I wouldn't be shocked if that number climbs to like 4. Because then Miami's in the playoffs regardless. Buffalo's already in. I know they may be working the other way, but look, Miami may be more tempted to be like, all right, we need to make sure Tua is.
Well, they've got to
You're
get
right.
healthier.
So,
I mean,
we'll
the Bills have been dealing with their injuries a lot longer.
Allen with the stinger on the last play of the game last week.
But I was on his left shoulder, right?
He's still that hurts, Vinny.
I'm not saying it doesn't. Everybody's hurting at this point.
Vinny, pleasure as always. Let's go back to work.
Happy New Year, everybody.
We're going to keep it right here. We're going to go right into it. I'm going to put on these fancy-looking headphones right here to make sure we're good. Of three-man weave, our guy here, Kai McKeon, with us today. Of course, Kai, Matt, Jim do great work over at three-man weave. There he is. Look at him right in the middle of our screen. Kai, Happy New Year. How are you doing, buddy?
Happy New Year. Doing well. How are you guys?
No, I have. Did you hear him there, Alex? No, audio. No.
Uh-oh.
We'll,
Test.
Kai, we'll get you. Now we got him. Kai, go ahead, buddy.
All good? How are you guys?
We still don't got you.
Nope.
So, all right. You know what? We'll get Kai back in a second. We're going to take a quick break. We'll get Kai in a second here. Talking college hoops here on Sports by the Book.
South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rock and dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grand View Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show, every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grand View Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grand View Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Welcome back in. It's Sports by the Book here at the South Point studio. I'm Jeff Parles. Alex White is here. And now our guy, we got him, Kai McKeon, three-man weave, where you can find his work. Him, Matt, Jim, great work. Kai, Happy New Year again. We'll try where we were just a second ago. Let's dive in. This is one of these Thursdays, now that we're in conference play, a lot of Colonial action, a lot of OVC, and then we get Pac-12 and Big Ten, usually on these Thursdays. And we'll start in the Big Ten with Michigan State and Penn State here for this one. And again, Michigan State finally looks like the team that we expected it to be going into the year after those bumps in the road against a tough schedule early in the year. It's a big line, no shock here, 13.5 at home at Breslin for the Spartans against the Nittany Lions tonight.
Yeah, they've covered, 4 straight since that Nebraska game. They lost at Nebraska, which doesn't look too terrible now that the Huskers took care of Indiana, pretty handily last night. I still think it's kind of a big spread. I tend to think Penn State's going to figure it out and get better as conference play goes along. I'm a big fan of Mike Rhodes. His style is certainly different than most Big Ten teams play, right? He gets up and down in transition, plays at a faster tempo. Anything in this game, I'd probably lean towards the over. I do think there's going to be quite a few points. Like I said, Penn State wants to push. I think Michigan State will allow them to push and kind of play with them. 13.5 feels like a bit too much to me. I'd probably lean towards the dog if forced to go one way on the side.
Let's go ahead and take a look at Arizona, who's coming off their 3rd loss of the year to Stanford. They've got Colorado at home. Anything you like in this one?
Yeah, I laid it with Arizona. I laid 11. I think it's up to 12 maybe now.
12 and a hook now.
12.5. Yeah, I just think it's a good spot for Arizona. I still think this team could be the best team in the country. So explosive. Last game against Stanford, Stanford played a perfect game. They shot out of their butts. It tends to regress from the next game, right? Caleb Love has been a bit to Caleb Love for me in the past couple of games. The one we saw at North Carolina, a bit inconsistent, but I have full faith in Tommy Lloyd. Colorado likely still without Da Silva and definitely Cody Williams. So, that matters. And obviously their first big road trip in conference play this season after the Mountain Homestead. So I like Arizona here. I think they get back on track.
Let's go to another West Coast power, not in the Pac-12, Gonzaga. This is not your normal Mark Few team of the last decade. Mm-hmm. They don't have a go-to guy. We really saw it in that game against San Diego State, where it always, whenever those games are in the kennel, it always feels like, all right, Gonzaga's going to go on that 20-2 spurt, and they just couldn't finish it off. And that was a really good win for the Aztecs. And now we know the deal when we get into West Coast Conference play with Gonzaga. Other than maybe 2 or 3 teams in the league, they overwhelm everyone. And this line tonight is no shock with a Pepperdine team that has a little bit of talent, but they're not there yet. 20 and a half here tonight. Is this one of those where you lay it with Gonzaga, say, all right, this is a nice bounce back? Or is this just the team that shouldn't be laying this many points against conference opponents this year?
Yeah, ordinarily I would say absolutely lay it, because in the past they've kind of, bent Pepperdine over in these spots, right? They've scored like 100 points on them, I think, several games in a row. The difference this year is, you mentioned, not the same Gonzaga team. They lack depth. I mean, they really lack depth. They lack go-to scoring. And Pepperdine's playing a lot slower. They've kind of changed their style a bit from the previous couple of years where, they're balls to the wall, run and gun. They're willing to play 80 possessions with Gonzaga. I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think Romar is going to slow it down a bit. And they do have talent. They have a lot of talent. I think Jevin Porter is going to be an NBA player someday. They have some pretty good guards in their team. They rebound the ball very well. So I think they can hang around, within 20 points at Gonzaga. Not super confident in it, but I definitely lean towards the Waves direction.
Kai, I was going to ask you, because I was going to take the over here with this matchup, especially you just said how much Gonzaga was going to put up. But now Pepperdine's style of play, do you think I should stay away from the total here?
Yeah, I thought about the over too, but that made me kind of stay away as well. I just don't think we're going to get as many possessions as we normally see in these type of games. And that made me a bit worried. So I stayed off the over. Again, Gonzaga might also not be as willing to sort of run as much as they normally would in conference play, just due to the depth factor. So I stayed away from the total completely. Ordinarily, of course, would be an overplay in this matchup.
Kai McKeon with us right now, 3-Man Weave, where you can find Kai's work here on Sports by the Book today. Kai, I want to go to the American real quick, where Memphis is in action tonight. They're taking on a Tulsa team that is right smack dab in the middle of the country, according to Ken Palm, at 180th. 9.5, 9 out there on this. But this is, if you have any thoughts on this game, go with it. But just looking at the American as a whole, where Florida Atlantic took another ridiculous beat last week, where this is a team that I think is one of the 15 best teams in the country, but they've lost to 2 teams that are in the 200s in Ken Palm. They bounced back and beat East Carolina earlier in this week. But how much does Memphis's success mean potentially this year, mean for what an American athletic team could potentially be worth in an NCAA tournament setting, or if you're looking to take a big bloated number on Florida Atlantic potentially to win it all? How much is that dictated on how good Memphis is in a league that doesn't look as good beyond the top 2?
Yeah, it'll certainly matter, right? I know they play twice this year, so any chance at a Q1 win is huge. And I think Memphis will be that this season. I think they're very, very good. Obviously, FAU is good. Some other teams are solid in the American. I think SMU is kind of flying under the radar a bit. North Texas is still good. I love Tulane. This season. But yeah, Memphis, a very, very good team. I'm worried a little bit about the Tulsa game. I think Memphis will win. I'm not sure about double digits on the road here. Tulsa's a lot better than last season. Last year they were the worst ATS team in the country. Eric Conkle kind of got an entire new team in. They've been playing a lot better this year, especially defensively. And I think that's kind of where they're going to hold serve tonight and keep it relatively close.
We really led you to the games we wanted to talk about. Is there anything on the board that you're looking at that you wanted to talk about?
Not particularly. I liked Bellarmine against Austin Peay in the extra games. I know that's kind of a really niche one, but I expect Bellarmine to be a lot better in ASUN play. Not sure we're going to get yet from Austin Peay. with Corey Gibson, new coach there. They have a really good top 2 players. They just kind of lack depth everywhere else. So just tend to lean towards Bellarmine there in a coaching matchup.
Bellarmine is 2.5. There's 2 behind us here at the South Point game. Going to get underway momentarily in Louisville. They still play their home games in Freedom Hall, right?
They do. It's huge, right? Yeah.
Yeah. 20,000 seat building for the crowd. It's probably about 5K there for Bellarmine and Austin P, where Kai is looking. I want to go back to the Pac-12 here because we mentioned Arizona. You're laying it tonight with the Wildcats. And, look, this is a league where I like their opponent tonight, Colorado, just not tonight. But Utah's been a team where all the eyes for the teams in that state have been on BYU, highly rated in KenPom. And as we know, Utah beat them earlier in the year. And tonight, the Utes are on the road in Tempe against an Arizona State team that has been up and down so far this year, to put it politely, for Hurley and company. This is a little bit of a tricky spot, though, for the Utes. Laying 6.5 on the road against the team that is talented, but not showing it so far this year in the win-loss record. And with a huge showdown coming up on Saturday against Arizona, this could be one of those look-ahead spots for the Utes, laying all these points on the road in Tempe.
Yeah, I actually thought about going Arizona State here. The only hesitancy I have is the way Arizona State has played so far in Pac-12 play. They're 2-0. They won both games on the road. They've led for a total of 3 minutes in those games. against Cal and Stanford. They came back from big deficits, beat them both. It's a defensive thing. It's not offensive. They're horrible on offense. They cannot shoot the ball. This Utah team is awesome. I'm fully in on the Craig Smith train. I love the Utes, but I agree with you. The spot, a little bit too dicey for me to take them here with Arizona on deck, with, again, kind of like Colorado, their first road trip in the Pac-12 this season. I tend to lean towards the home team there, especially a pretty good home court in Arizona State. But the fashion in which Arizona State's kind of lucked into these first 2 games, it has me kind of staying away in this game.
Flipping back to the Big Ten, Michigan's underwater. They're 6-7. They welcome in Minnesota tonight. I really don't know what to do with this tonight at 6. By the way, I know people were getting on Michigan for that McNeese loss, at least people that weren't in the know. McNeese is a legitimate top 100 KenPom team, and if they weren't just McNeese State, they'd be looked at as a legitimately good tournament team going into their conference play in the Southland. But I don't know what to think of this Michigan team. So right now, 6 tonight against Minnesota, who I still think improving, but still one of the bottom teams in the Big Ten.
Yeah, Michigan's kind of had me fooled all season. It was the St. John's game, right? That opening game when they won on the road in convincing fashion. Like, wow, this team's awesome. And the very next day, of course, or next game, they lose to Long Beach State at home. And you mentioned the McNeese game, the weird coaching situation where Juwan Howard was an interim coach and then now a head coach. And that's kind of all the rumors coming out of there. It has me kind of a bit cold on Michigan. The question for me is Dawson Garcia. Is he going to play for Minnesota? If he plays, Minnesota can be a tough dog in this conference. They are much improved. I think Ben Johnson's a pretty good coach. I mean, he does a lot with a little in terms of a talent perspective. And this season, their results really, you can't really point to one and say that was a terrible game. Maybe San Francisco, but other than that, they've been really good. We'll see what they do away from home. They couldn't do it against Ohio State. So no side here for me, especially with the Garcia question, but don't feel confident in laying points with Michigan right now.
Kai, before we let you go, let's just look ahead to the weekend here. You got a few good games on Saturday. For first full, every conference is in conference play Saturday, where there'll be roughly 900,000 games to choose from on Saturday. Clemson, North Carolina, a really good one in the ACC. Houston makes their Big 12 debut. Yes, it's West Virginia, but still their debut in conference play. Providence taking on Creighton, even though horrible news for Providence Day with Hopkins being ruled out for the year. Ole Miss, again, a KenPom non-believing team on the road against Tennessee. But there are a lot of good games on Saturday, even if you're not looking at one of those premium ones I just mentioned. Is there a spot or maybe 2 spots you're looking at and saying, hey, when this line comes out on Friday night, I'm looking to play this?
Yeah, like 140 games, which is too many.
Yeah.
Someone's got to talk to the schedulers about this one. But I like the first one off the bat, Clemson. Clemson hosting North Carolina. Now, to be fair, I've faded North Carolina a few times this year unsuccessfully. That's mainly a coaching angle, but Hubert Davis has acquitted himself this season. They certainly look very good. They're very talented, but Clemson's legit. And I like Clemson coming off the Miami loss. I love them playing at Little John. That's a really tough home court. And it's going to be probably around pick. Maybe it'll get up to -2. Market might have the same idea as I do, but I like Clemson in that spot.
Look for Clemson on Saturday, and that's right out of the gate on Saturday. You got to be up. You got to be ready to go after your Friday night out. Noon Eastern, Little John Coliseum for that one. Clemson and North Carolina, a pair of top 16 teams. He's Kai McKeon. Again, you can find his work over at Three Man Weave. Him, Jim, Root, and Matty Cox do a great job breaking it down. Over there in Three Man Weave, all the best college basketball content you can ask for. Kai, pleasure as always. We'll see you again soon. Thanks for hanging with us today.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Kai McKeon, everyone. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to figure out where in the casino is Frank Nicotero. That's what is it?
Where the Frank is Nicotero.
Where the Frank is Nicotero. See,
there we go.
People need to run these names behind me, by us before they just go fully in on them. But we'll also have Frank in studio as well at some point during the segment. We hope. We don't know, but we hope. When we get back on Sports by the Book.
We work hard to provide you with all the conveniences that will make you come back all under one roof. Enjoy your stay.
Welcome back in. Sports by the Book is the show. I'm Jeff Parles. Alex White's here as well. But we are going to now figure out, this is the most important part of the show. The man who hosts Punchlines here on this very channel, noon Pacific time. Tomorrow is where you can find our guy, Frank Nicotero. But we don't know where we're looking for Frank. He could be over at the hot rod machine over there. He could be at the oyster bar. He could be behind me at the hot dog cart. He could be anywhere here in this property in a new segment that's not new, but has a new name. Where the Frank is Nicotero.
Here I am. I'm in the sports book. I'm with Joe, who's the sports book supervisor. The South Point Sports Book is epic. Why should people come down here? We love it.
Well, I like that we have one big room for the sport.
Yes.
Then you go around the corner and there's a big room for the race book.
Horses are separate. Exactly.
Yeah, so that's good. We get the horse players over there and the sports players over here.
And the odds at the South Point are something people come in for, right?
Right. We got good parlay card odds, so you can play off that. And then, like the -3, we don't put a vig on. So 2.5, 3, 3.5. A lot of people like that.
Yeah, I would love that. I could save a few bucks. Now you're talking about parlay cards. You guys had the big bowl parlay card, and it was 15 games. And we've been wanting to know because everyone did one on the Sports by the Book did one. 15 games. Did we have a winner?
3 winners, 14-1. So they probably took home about 8,200.
They each won 14-1.
Yeah.
Was it the same game that they missed or different games?
Different games.
Wow. So the parlay card for $5, someone walked home. 3 players walked home with over $8,000.
Right.
That's amazing. Now, the sportsbook. Now, people, how do they do? They just come in. They go up to one of the helpful people here. It's good if they can have the number of the game they're betting on, and they make a bet.
Yeah, Jimmy always makes a little announcement. Was it bet number, bet type, bet amount?
Yeah.
So yeah, we like them to have the bet number, and then even if you don't know though, and you want to bet the Steelers, just go up there and say, "Hey, I want the Steelers for $50."
We can do that too. Now,
they'll
here,
help you out.
Here, follow me down here, Ryan, while we're doing this live here. These are the sheets right here. Now, first of all, free pens.
Yeah, free pens. That's a good reason coming.
Free pen. By the way, free pen.
But look at the colorful sheets though.
That is something true. A lot of sports books they just use black and white. They don't use the color printer. We use the color printer at the South Point. So here's something I want to take a look. This gentleman's grabbing one right now.
See, now we're out right there.
College basketball Wednesday. Let's see who I like on this game here. Wow, Louisville's been really bad this year.
I was going to say they're terrible.
Why do I? So you can take this. You can do a little homework. You can see here if you like Virginia, you go up, you say game 686, Virginia. Give me Virginia and -14.5. That's a big line, but Louisville is terrible.
They are terrible.
It's been a long time since Denny Crum was the coach. And the payouts here are good. I mean, we know that in the casino as well. But the sports book, the atmosphere is great. We got a deli.
A lot of seats, huge. The hot dog cart is a big draw.
I can't believe you were going to say. You're reading my mind, Joe. The hot dog cart
big draw.
is one of the most famous things here at the South Point. For $1.50, you get a hot dog. And we recommend, if you have $2 bills on you, tip her 50 cents.
Right. The deli's got the best bacon cheeseburger in the land.
The deli's unbelievable. We talked just last week, we were with the owner, Peter. We talked to him. He's from New York. He's a big Jets fan. The Jets lost to the Browns. And, by the way, he owes me a pastrami sandwich. Maybe I should split it with you.
You better cash in on that.
Yeah, before he forgets or the ticket expires on
exactly.
that. Anyway, guys, the sportsbook here at the South Point, you got to come down and check it out. Back to you guys in the studio. Or wait, am I going to be there magically?
I was kind of expecting a mini Frank to end up on the roulette wheel.
We'll work on that.
Well, I was expecting. Joe, a supervisor here at the sports
Great
book.
guy.
A great guy. Always love chatting with him every once in a while in the back, and you had the chat there today with him. And thank you for taking.
Yeah,
I'd say this, Joe. Thank you for taking the time to talk to a man who only bets over.
I had the devil straight up last night because Dwayne Colucci gave us that. Colucci. Gotta go. He gave us a winner last night with the Devils. Bless you, whoever sneezed. But Jeff,
who sneezed?
But someone
you, Jerry?
It was Jerry.
Okay.
If he's not swearing, he's sneezing. That's the way it is with Jerry.
Something with an S.
By the way, Jeff, I don't know if you know this. Today, there's a lot of it's National Spaghetti Day, which we talked about. But I thought you'd appreciate this one especially. It's National Missouri Day. Where you're supposed to talk Missouri, and you went to Mizzou.
Why is there a National Missouri
They
Day?
need 50 days a year to kill. I don't know.
A National Missouri? Come on.
It's National Trivia Day, and it was also National Can Do Day.
Yeah.
What?
Do.
National Can Do. Because it's like a new year, like a fresh approach. Like, I can.
Who's making up these holidays?
I don't. It's all.
National Spaghetti Day is the best one you just mentioned.
Yes, and so last night I had.
Have it last night?
I had it last night because today's officially day one of keto again. So now I timed it to start it on a Thursday. So when I get the keto flu, where you're a little groggy and everything, will happen over the weekend, and therefore no one here on the crew will have to experience cranky Frankie, which can happen.
Are you sure? I'm on your show on Monday, too, I think. Are you going to be cranky?
It could spill over to Monday, but Alex, you always make me happy. But Missouri, it's National Missouri Day, and I realized I found out.
I can't believe there's there shouldn't even be a domestic Missouri Day. And I mean that by domestically within Missouri.
Right.
Not domestically within the country.
But it's I think they were the 25th state or the 29th state. I'm not sure.
Well, today's 1/4, so neither of those would make any sense.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
What's the best thing about Missouri?
Well, none of it makes
Jeff?
sense. Exactly. It's just right.
Well, you know what? That's the first.
But
thing
happy National Missouri Day because I know you're
I appreciate
a Mizzou graduate.
I'll tell my wife who's from St. Louis.
But what's the best thing about Missouri? You got to say some nice things since it's national.
I don't need to say anything nice about Missouri. It's okay.
St. Louis is a nice city.
Kansas City's a better city.
I was briefly in Kansas City, had some barbecue, and had to leave.
Barbecue's good.
It's good. Yeah.
Very, very good. All right. Let's get to some sports.
Sure.
Okay. Because if you've never watched the show before, Frank Nicotero's from some place called Pittsburgh.
Don't ask Jerry. Oh, Jerry.
Some place called Pittsburgh.
I am from Pittsburgh. I am a massive Steeler fan.
Yeah.
It's well known in the community.
Well known if you watch the shows. But for people, hey, look, it's a new year. People may be finding us for the first
thank
time.
you for doing that.
Don't know if they'd be like, oh, this guy may be a Cleveland fan.
Oh, God.
But that would be very bad for anyone who thought that. So your Steelers.
Yeah.
Rudolph has not only saved Christmas, he saved New Year's, and now may save the season altogether. And they're 3.5, 4-point favorites against Baltimore is not playing their guys.
Correct.
They already have the 1 seed wrapped up. This game's on Saturday, by the way.
Yeah, which I like. I like getting these. This is the third Steeler game in the last 4 weeks on Saturdays. And the thing is Lamar Jackson should rest. But I almost want the Steelers to play him because he does not fare well against the Steelers. Tyler Huntley actually plays better against the Steelers than Lamar Jackson. In the first game this year, we beat them. And I think the Ravens had 7 drop passes. It wasn't even Lamar's fault. So the Steelers need to win. There's a weird way the Steelers could still get in the playoffs even if they lose, but it involves ties and weird stuff like that. But if they win, basically Jacksonville loses or Buffalo loses, they're in. And I guess they'd be the 7th seed, so they'd probably play in Miami, I guess, in the first game,
So
which is a beatable team.
For you, you're saying they win. Do they cover?
Yeah,
Would you
I
lay
think
the
they do
3.5?
because, I mean,
Okay.
I think Baltimore's, I think, even though it's a division game and Harbaugh wants to, he would love to knock Pittsburgh out. Every game, but I think it's like 19 of the last 23 games falls within a field goal, 3 to 4 points. They're always close games. That's where they said it again. This time, obviously, you probably would have thought the Ravens would have been favored. But, yeah, I'll take the Steelers. I really do think so. I think they're playing for something and Baltimore's playing for nothing.
This week in the NFL is one of those weeks where there are sharp bettors that see huge advantages because it's like the preseason. Personally, I could see why there's advantages.
Sure.
I can see why some may say, I'm going to take the week off. I, for one, love the fact that we get a Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz matchup.
I know, that's hysterical.
I'm all in on that. But there are some very interesting games to look at this week. We'll go fully into this on Football Friday.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this, Frank. I'm going to require you real quick.
Okay.
And think about this, and then tomorrow when I walk in for Sports by the Book,
Okay.
I will report to everyone what you do here.
Okay.
I want you to go through the 16 games,
Okay.
and we're going to do this moving forward here with whatever sport we feel like.
Okay.
I want you to find one under.
One.
I want you to find one under.
All right.
You don't have to find it now.
All right. I'm gonna take this sheet. Can I have this one, Alex?
Yes, you can.
All right, cool. I can bring it back to you tomorrow.
We need to know either you say it at the end of punchlines or everyone stay tuned tomorrow at 2:00. Frank will announce Frank's under, and then whoever has the under in that game will be terrified that Frank likes the under. And
everyone will run to the window and bet it over. Yeah, exactly.
But I will say this: there's one game that I made you guys guess the number on.
Right.
Oh, okay, right.
Where I told you all week New England was going to be favored last.
Oh, you did. That's right.
And they are favored. There's also the potential for a blizzard in
Right.
this game.
Oh, I didn't check the weather. Oh, is that
Yeah.
right?
Not just snow, but there's potential for consistent 25 to 30 mile an hour winds.
Oh, my
and
God.
buckets of snow with two teams that are completely done and have
Right.
no offenses to begin with.
So we actually guessed that total last week when we guessed our numbers too, and I guessed 30.5,
You were
but
right.
that's where it got bet down to. So I don't know if I can say I was right,
Well,
but
it's been the
No, but
consistent number most of the week, though. So we'll give you 3/4. You know, like those back in the day at school.
You get a
where-
gold star.
No,
or
I was going to go with the check plus,
check
minus.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
We're going to give you a solid check and half of a plus that's the top of it, so it's not a minus sign.
I'll take it. So Sean was actually looking at that over. We're saying stay away completely with
Well,
blizzard
again,
weather.
as we've
Got to
talked
check the
about,
Weather Channel.
as we've talked about, precipitation usually doesn't impact the way the teams play. It's wind. So if you get, again, it's a 70% chance of snow with 20 mile an hour winds, you're at the point where the wind can impact. Now, can we get some defensive touchdowns in that game?
Yeah.
Sure. we
Slippery
could.
ball. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's Trevor Siemian that gets Bailey Zappi, which is
Yeah.
still amazingly not the worst quarterback matchup of the week in the NFL.
Wait, what's worse than that? Are you saying Wentz and Darnold? I don't
No,
think.
Wentz and Darnold.
Yeah, that's a good
Hold
one.
on a second. Wentz and Darnold would both be starters on both of those teams
Absolutely.
right now. I mean, there's no doubt. No, I would argue actually. I'm sure. Well, first off, Blaine Gabbert and Easton Stick is the one that stands out.
Oh,
right
God,
away.
yeah.
But the other one, you have. Again, I don't want to throw Jake Browning under the bus because he's been solid. Jeff Driscoll starting in place of Flacco.
I saw that, yeah.
But I don't know if you're going to be happy with me here. But Jarrett Stidham against Aiden O'Connell, even though O'Connell's been the starter for 10 games, that probably is the second worst.
Has he
matchup
really
of it.
been 10 games now for O'Connell?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Season flew by.
Yeah.
All right, so I can let you know tomorrow.
Take your time.
We'll do it tomorrow. All
Take
right,
your
I like it.
So I actually like an under tonight in a hockey game
Please.
that involves your team.
Penguins
Whoa.
Bruins tonight, right?
That's a great game.
It is. All right, what do you like?
Under 6. Of
Under
course.
6?
Yeah, it's going to be a defensive battle. Both goalies have been playing so good. You got Tristan Jarry. Bruins have Swayman on their side. So, yeah, I like that under. Pittsburgh has actually been an under team, 20-14 to the under this year.
And I think they're 7-2-1 in their last 10. Penguins are starting to put it together a little bit.
They are.
It's a veteran team. You know they're going to have their ups and downs. Crosby's still the man. Letang set a record. What was that? He had 6 assists in one game, 5 in one period. But tonight, low scoring. Penguins under.
Penguins under, yes.
I'm gonna go home and watch the game. Like it starts at 4:30.
He said I'm gonna go home and watch the game. He didn't say I'm gonna go bet that.
I'm gonna go bet it. Well, I can
You
do it
don't
on the
have
app.
to. It's
I do
your
it on the
team, so
app.
you
I do it
can.
on the app.
Hold on.
I bet Alex's almost every pick.
You and I realized the exact same thing because as soon as you said under, even though it was
I checked out mentally.
Even though it's Pittsburgh, the mention of the under trumps the mention of Pittsburgh in Frank's brain.
Wow.
Well, is
Jerry,
Jari
did you hear that?
Is Tristan Jari confirmed? Do we on the goalie?
Jari's gonna play. Yeah.
I thought earlier this morning I saw it wasn't Jari.
That's what I saw. That's what I saw not too long ago.
Right, they had the other guy, and I can't think of his name. But if it's Jari, yeah, I like it. I will bet it.
You
I
don't
bet
have
Alex.
to. I'm not forcing
What was the bet you gave us? The
Oh,
Kraken?
you're right.
So it's not Jari. Okay, so it's the backup guy.
Would you still go? I would still go under anyway. I would still.
Yeah,
go
it's
under.
still going to be. It's going to be an East Coast.
I'm
run.
already on the under, so I'm
Can
there.
you spell? Can you spell the backup or not spell? Forget spell. Can you
Yeah.
pronounce the backup?
I'd have to see it. I can't.
Do you want me to spell it for you?
Yes. Okay.
NEDELJAKOVIC.
Needle Jakovin.
I think that's as close to. I was thinking Needle Djokovic.
Needle Djokovic.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
everyone. Well,
Ryan's gonna have to look that up for us.
Ryan
You're not
probably
producing,
knows.
but Ryan's gonna have to figure it out.
everyone just calls him the Needle.
Very good, Frank.
Hey, 92% save percentage for him.
Last game I watched
6
him play,
and
he
4
was
to the under.
he stood on his head a little bit. He wasn't bad.
I do have one college basketball thing I like tonight.
Go for it.
WCC. Santa Clara's only laying 1.5 on the road at Loyola. Now, both of these teams are pretty similar, Ken Palm-wise. Loyola is coming off of a pretty gross loss to Tarleton State.
Jeez.
You know who Tarleton State
I
is?
do not.
They're the Texans
I did not know that.
of Tarleton, Texas, is where Tarleton State is. They are in the WAC.
Oh, they're on the whack.
They also wear purple, right? They're purple? Yeah. They almost beat Gonzaga 2 years ago, I think, in college hoops.
Jeez.
But Santa Clara is talented. I know they've had some injury issues over the last few weeks, but only 1.5 on the road. They came off a loss against a Yale team that's pretty good, but I believe in this Broncos team. Only 1.5 on the road. The line hasn't moved all day, which is also an interesting one. I would have expected at least some sort of play on a money line, but that money line really hasn't moved either. You can lay $1.25 out there. I would look to the Broncos of Santa Clara.
That's Steve Nash, right? That's where Steve Nash went to Santa Clara?
Of course.
Right. I saw him play. I saw him play in college. It was somewhere around, I can't remember in California where I was, but I remember someone said, oh, you got to see this kid play.
Well, Santa Clara is in Santa Clara, California.
Yes, it is. Exactly. But I remember, I don't know if it was a road game. I don't think it was a home game. Was it like Riverside? I don't know who they played.
Probably played Loyola Marymount.
It might have been LMU.
Honesty,
there you go.
Because that's in LA, right?
It's right by the airport. Yeah, one of my best friend's son is going there. And I always liked Loyola Marymount games back in the day when that Hank Gathers and Bo Kimball. You guys are too young to remember. But the overs, you want to talk about overs? They would score 140 points easily by themselves. They were just up and down. And unfortunately, of course, you know what happened to Hank Basket on my 21st birthday as I was at O'Houlihan's having beers and wings, passed out and died on the court. But they were one of the most exciting teams. So I've always been a supporter of LMU. I root for them. But you don't like them.
Well, that was Jason Siegel coached them, right?
Oh, was that that's where he came from. Yeah. God, that show. And I can't believe they didn't get a third season of winning time.
Ridiculous.
It was so much fun to watch.
Frank, well, I do want to ask you this real quick.
Sure.
Because you've been doing punchlines for a few months now.
We hit 60 episodes today.
60 episodes today. We're now getting to the point where if you don't watch Frank's show, it's always the number episode. We have already had the discussion what's going to happen when you hit 100.
Yeah, Ryan and I haven't thought about that.
But you always do player numbers.
Yeah.
You're now in a weird part of
the
numbers.
You are correct.
Where you're going to basically exclusively now have offensive linemen and hockey players for the next really 20 episodes.
Well, Ryan and I thought about this, and Ryan came up. We've done this before. So today on the show, instead of doing number 60 jerseys, we did athletes who are 60 years old.
Oh, you copped out.
We had to. I mean, what are we going to be like? Oh, Jefferson, who played 2 years with Green Bay, he wore 60. There's just
why
no
not?
one.
We want to learn about.
We do want to learn about, but it was more fun where Ryan had pictures of athletes that were 60 to see if I could name them, and I named them all but one, or did I get them all? I got 9 out of 10. Who did I miss?
Who did he miss?
Do you want to see it? Do we have the graphic by chance? Oh, I didn't know the UFC guy.
I would have gotten that one wrong.
Yeah,
too,
I didn't know him. Plus, do you have it by chance, Ryan?
Wait a second. He's that old? Wow.
Yeah, I didn't know who it was. I was like, by the way, it was a little far.
What
but
is
I-
it?
Right.
Is it current pictures of these guys?
Yeah, here it is. So
No,
go
no,
ahead,
it's
go. You can
All
start
right,
bottom
so-
left.
all right.
Start bottom left. Go
All right,
clockwise.
so Alex, do you want to defer to me or do you want me to?
I've got two. Michael Jordan,
yeah,
Randall Cunningham.
there you go. UNLV zone.
Where's? Oh, there's Randall.
Upper
On the
right. He's
on
at
the right.
2 o'clock.
Okay. All right. Akeem Olajuwon, Jim Harbaugh, Karl Malone, big unit.
Big unit.
You got MJ. You got Bruce Smith. Is that Crime Dog up in the top right?
It is Fred McGriff, who went
Yeah.
into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Randall Cunningham, Spud Webb, and then of course the man, the myth, the legend, who gets paid $1 million every single year.
Every July 1st, Bobby Bonilla.
Our guy Bobby Bonilla.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I got.
I
yeah.
would have, for what it's worth, I would have done the same thing as you.
We
I
did
would
the
have
exact
gotten
same thing.
Couture wrong, but I would have gotten everyone else right.
Yeah.
Because Couture in that picture, because of the way it looks,
Right.
kind of looks like Tyson Fury a little bit.
I
know Randy Couture and Tyson Fury don't look. They look a little alike, but not enough
Right.
to justify.
Yeah,
it.
I didn't know.
I
I didn't
can't
know.
believe you guys both got all of
UFC. I
this.
only know a few UFC guys.
I am stunned that he's 60 years old.
Yeah. I remember I lived with a guy, Gino, and my cousin Greg. When I remember watching.
Did you just make that up on the fly?
I did not. Gino and Greg. I remember watching UFC 3, and I don't know what they're at now. Brian.
What it's going to be? Isn't it UFC?
They're on 200.
UFC 200s in a few months, and McGregor's going to fight.
So they come back in June,
Yeah.
I think, right? Yeah. I watched number 3. There was a guy named Fred Edish. He came out in a karate gi. He was this white guy with like a mullet and a mustache, and he went against like one of the
Wait,
Gracies.
Hold on, I got to put a correction out there. It's 300.
Was it 300?
Wow.
It's 300. 300 in April.
Yeah, it's even more crazy. How many?
Yeah.
So I remember watching 3.
3.
And by the way, when UFC back then, the only rule was maybe no eye gouging and nothing below the belt. And there was no rounds. It was just, they started a clock and it was
whoever-
go.
yeah, when you went, you went.
You went at your time. And it was brutal to watch. And I have hard time watching. A hockey fight sometimes upsets me. So these were, some of these were upsetting. And my buddy had them on VHS tapes and he'd pop them in when we were having a few pops and then we'd watch them. I just remember this one guy, Fred Edish. He just was this little white guy, and you're like, this guy's going to get killed. And he did. Like one of the Gracies like took him down and it was over fast.
So I have a couple friends who work for UFC here, and I just saw one today at the gym, and we were chatting, and I was like, hey, if you can get me a media pass for anything, let
There you
me
go.
know. So some of the media days and stuff, but I think they're Thursdays, which depending on if we have any changes coming up, but it might be something for you
I would
that
go.
you might
think-
want to do too.
I think regardless, again, we have plans coming for something that's named after a Super Bowl.
Oh, yes. The big game.
the
We're not
big
allowed to
game.
legally say it,
The
are we?
gigantic
Yes.
game coming
Exactly.
up. No, we can't do promotional packaging of it.
Right.
When the game itself,
Right. But you can
who's
say
going
the
to win
word.
the Super Bowl?
We can say
We
that.
can say that. But
That's that's the
yes,
loophole?
Yes.
All
There
right.
you go. So, regardless.
Yeah, but we're going to try to go to some of that media stuff.
We
Yeah.
have some stuff planned from
Yeah.
Media Row.
Nice.
Let's just say that.
Nice.
So we'll be in good shape for that. All right, Frank. The show tomorrow is at noon Pacific.
I got an under.
You have
I
to
will
find
pick
an
tonight.
under. Who do you have on the show tomorrow other than
we
our
have
good
Alex.
friend Alex
We
White?
haven't had Alex on since it's been since last year. She's been on the show.
Oh, very good.
Hold for applause. You know what? I don't need that.
Sean,
And then-
actually, Sean, was that one worse, or what I did on New Year, or did on New Year's Eve was worse? I
yeah,
agree.
because
I
mine
agree
was
with
like,
that.
I
There
haven't
we
seen you
go.
since
I agree
last.
with
Yeah,
that.
she hasn't been
My
on since
joke on
last
New
year.
Year's Eve was way worse than what Frank just did.
So Alex will be on, and I think Chris Andrews is stopping by tomorrow. So we're just doing in-house stuff tomorrow. Big weekend of sports and huge weekend of NFL. And of course, I will have this under for you tomorrow when we do the changeover.
And I have one more play for
Yeah.
later games.
Yeah,
I
please,
think they're
go for it.
starting Jets and Sharks under 6. So the Sharks have now lost 9 in a row. Again, surprising. But their last win was over Winnipeg. They won 2-1. So I think they show up for this one. They are 10-7 to the under at home.
Oh,
So under in that one. I also like the Knights tonight if you can get them at plus money. They are playing Florida, who's a tough team, but they're going to show up for that game. And I like the Flyers. So
oh wow. Full
Those-
roster of hockey stuff. I like it.
It's a-
Parlay
yeah.
Parlay City tonight for me then.
no parlay, single bets.
Damn it.
We're betting all of them separate.
Well, you'll be over 500 and I'll show money. Okay, I'll do it. I'm doing it.
Frank, you'll win money. Frank will give the money to the guys over there.
To Joe, who I interviewed on the show.
I will play probably. You know what? Which one? You like them all evenly?
You know I like the
most-
totals.
Yeah. So I need to be careful.
Well, I'm going to watch the Penguins-Bruins game, so I'm going to take the
might
under.
as well have it.
Yeah.
All I will say is I have to be very careful when tailing Alex's totals because I don't want to take them down with me. So,
Please don't. Please don't.
So if you're worried about no Tristan Jarry, maybe the Jet Sharks.
I might just take the Knights.
Okay.
I mean, I might just make it simple, make it easy rooting interest as well.
There you go.
All right, well, that's all the time we have today. Frank's back tomorrow at noon on Punchlines. We're back tomorrow at 2 with, yes, you're noon tomorrow.
I know.
Yeah.
It's an
2
inside
o'clock
joke.
for Sports by the Book tomorrow with myself, Vinny Magliulo, Chris Andrews. Alex will be with Frank tomorrow.
Yes.
So
All
get
day.
the full fix of all of us. For everyone in the back, Sean, Ryan, Gary, and pleasure as always. Always a lot of fun. We'll see you again next time. Sports by the Book.